Okay, here I am, live on YouTube. Hey, Liam, this is the second episode of what I hope to be an ongoing series about music and film. I am the jazz video guy. Liam, where are you? I noticed you're saying good evening. Where are you located? I'm Brett Premack, aka the jazz video guy. And I call these weekly sessions Ask a Filmmaker. I have a new blog and Facebook page called Ask a Filmmaker. Israel! Hello, Israel! Uh, are you a musician, a filmmaker? What do you do in Israel, Liam? I'm going to be going back and forth here answering questions from our comments from a live chat. So, Brett Premack, jazz video guy, Ask a Filmmaker. You probably have seen a lot of my videos here on YouTube. I've got a channel, the Jazz Video Guide channel, with almost 1,700 videos now. And I have been doing documentaries and other kinds of films about musicians, but I want to empower people to do their own videos. So I've started this Ask a Filmmaker blog and a Facebook page to do that. And it's great to be able to speak with my viewers all over the planet, like a 16-year-old trombone player named Liam from Israel, a place that I would really like to visit, really like to go to. I know that a lot of creative people over there and a lot of creative people all over the planet. And with technology, people are now empowered to utilize smartphones, DSLRs, YouTube, Facebook, to create video and share it with the world. And if you take a look on my channel, you'll see this week I posted a video called what videos can musicians do? Musicians who want to start creating video. The question becomes, well, what should I do? So I posted a list of maybe 10 different types of video that you could actually do. You can get started pretty easily. If you got a smartphone, you're a filmmaker now. Take the next step and do some editing. Oh, my Telly Savalas picture is coming off here. Perhaps if you know the show Kojak, you know the man called Telly Savalas. And he recorded an album during the height of his fame, Telly. Not the greatest of performers, kind of a cultural oddity, but I'm a collector of oddities, so I've always enjoyed this album. I love his acting. I mean, he's a fantastic actor. So I'll be here every Saturday to answer your questions about filmmaking. The show goes up at 1 p.m. New York time. Depending on where you are, 10 a.m. Pacific time. I don't know what the time it is in Israel, but obviously someone's awake. So the Ask a Filmmaker weekly thing will start out as just me talking, but I want to turn it into an interactive presentation. I want to bring in guests and also fans. But I'm just kind of experimenting here with YouTube live streaming. Last week I used my smartphone, and this week I'm doing it through my computer. I've got some encoding software, some Wirecast. YouTube gives you the software so you can do live streams, and with better software, you eventually have a TV studio. It's pretty fantastic. You can do all kinds of effects and everything. And I hope that you'll tell your friends about this. You'll come back on a regular basis. You may have questions. Maybe you don't want to state them here, but you can email me, brettpremack@gmail.com. Check out my website, askafilmmaker.com, my blog. Because that's what I'm about here. I want to empower you, to help you to utilize this technology as I have done. I taught myself. I mean, I've worked as a filmmaker for a long time. I went to NYU Film School back in the 60s. Yes, I'm that old. Only in the past 12 or 13 years have I started to utilize new technology, new filmmaking with smartphones and the DSLR and editing on a computer, and started my YouTube channel. I was working with musicians, producing websites. I was lucky to be part of the .com thing back when the internet really got off the ground in 1994, 1995. I worked for the first major jazz website, Jazz Central Station. So I've always been into technology. And then when I moved to Arizona, started doing websites for musicians. Someone said, "Well, why don't you try to make some movies? You can do that." And I taught myself. I've learned a lot. It's an ongoing process. This learning how to do anything to do with technology. I mean, now I'm at the beginning of a learning curve about how to master this live streaming thing. I want to do the best possible work. That's my goal. So in a few weeks here, you're going to see this evolve into a much more professional presentation. And I'm excited about the possibilities here. I know that when we do these live streams, most viewers don't appear during the live stream, but later watching it as video on demand. So this is just getting started here. This is June 10th. I know that people want immediate results, but in this case, we need some patience. It's going to be patience for me to figure out how to do this, how to utilize this technology, and to build an audience. And I'm building my audience organically. I don't have a budget to advertise or do that kind of marketing. I can just do it one viewer at a time through my YouTube channel, through my Facebook page, and through my blog, Ask a Filmmaker. So I want to give you the opportunity to ask me your questions about making films, about utilizing smartphones, about audio, about lighting, about editing, about distribution, about web video. I did a feature-length documentary last year, which is available here on YouTube and Vimeo, and also Amazon Prime and Amazon. Excuse me. If you have Amazon Prime, you can watch this for free. This is now the way that filmmakers get their work out there, video on demand. So, Passing the Torch, which is about a 90-year-old jazz musician named Jimmy Heath, a remarkable man, mentoring teenagers. There's a fantastic jazz education program for kids here in Tucson called the Tucson Jazz Institute. They have a number of big bands, and the people who run it are doing some of the best work in jazz education in the world, as evidenced by the fact that the Tucson Jazz Institute Ellington Band recently won for, I guess, the third or fourth time, the Essentially Ellington composition that Jazz at Lincoln Center presents every year. So great work there. And once a year they bring in a jazz master to work with the kids. Last year they brought in my friend Jimmy Heath. I've known Jimmy since 1978 when I was a writer for Downbeat. Did an interview with Jimmy and Percy, and have known Jimmy for all these years. He's a wonderful man, and when this opportunity came, when I found out he's coming out here, I'm going to make a film. It happened kind of spontaneously. Raised some money to do it. I put a lot of my own money into it. And it was shown in April at the Arizona International Film Festival. And I just learned this morning that it's going to be shown at the New York Jazz Film Festival in August, up in Harlem, the last weekend in August. I'll pass on more information about that when I know the date and the time. I know they show some films outside. I'm not sure if it's going to be in a theater or whatever, but I'm happy to have the film get some recognition. It's not easy being an artist in these times, these very negative, conflict-based times. I know that I've been listening to jazz since I was a kid, 13, 14 years old. I listened to, my idols were Dizzy Gillespie, Charlie Parker, Maynard Ferguson. I was a trumpet player. I also liked Lenny Bruce. Amazing that in the early 60s, I would somehow be able to get that, be able to have access to the music like that. I lived in West Hartford, Connecticut, halfway between New York and Boston. Got to hear a lot of live music in person when I was young. By the time I was 16, 17, I had already heard in person Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Dave Brubeck, Maynard Ferguson, Cannonball Adderley, Yusef Lateef. It was incredible. Very, very lucky, and then ended up going to New York. So this music has been part of my life for many, many years. By the way, I'm not into Coke. I just have an itchy nose, allergies. Never liked Coke. Marijuana, I like that a lot, but that's not that's the subject of another discussion. So this music has really been part of my life. I ended up being a journalist and a filmmaker and focusing on it. But just from a listening perspective, what I get from the music is something that I still have. I mean, I alluded to these crazy times we're living in. This is healing music. One thing that has always touched me about jazz is that no matter what you've heard, no matter what's happening, something in jazz is always going to touch you. There's so many different things. Jazz is an umbrella that describes so many different types of music. I mean, from Kenny G to Albert Ayler. Some people would say, oh, Kenny G's not jazz. Well, a lot of people consider him to be jazz. Albert Ayler, perhaps on the outside of the music they once called avant-garde. So when I need a break, when I need some healing, when I need some help, I turn to this music, and it never fails. You can always count on it. I've had to listen to it a lot lately. For me, not too much in this life makes sense. The fact that we have Donald Trump as the President of the United States, that doesn't make very much sense to me. How could that happen? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I can't predict what's going to happen in the world. I can predict that I'm going to continue to listen to jazz. I love the music. It's going to inspire me. I'm very lucky in my life to have gotten to know a lot of these musicians, and to when you know these people, you kind of get a sense of where the music comes from when you know them as people and you talk to them. In fact, I know some of them so well that when I hear their music, I can hear their voices. I can hear them talking to me. Like Sonny Rollins or Michael Brecker or Maynard Ferguson, knowing these people. I hear them in their music. And that's one of the remarkable things about jazz. It's such a very personal statement. It's a music of the moment, improvisation, something that really can't be faked. It's the only form of music that utilizes improvisation like that. Certainly, I love classical music. I love rock. I mean, I'm a child of the 60s. I went to Woodstock. I still listen to Procol Harum and Quicksilver Messenger Service, and I love the Beatles. But jazz is different. Jazz is really special. It's about taking what you're feeling at the moment and bringing that into your improvisation and sharing that with your audience. And the master improvisers, the master musicians, they also have a very unique sound. And you can tell who it is. You can hear what musicians are playing just by their sound. In 2 or 3 notes, you know who it is. Question for my friend from Israel, Liam. Do you have some jazz album recommendations? Wow. That is difficult because there is so much out there. I mean, in the past, I wish I'm not in front of my other computer here where I can look at my my iTunes playlist in the past 24 hours. But I'll tell you about the first 3 jazz. Tim Quinn, I did start as a trumpet player. Never very good. Wish that I'd practiced. I'll get back to the album thing in a second. Why didn't I become a musician? My dad was a professional musician. My dad was a pianist. During World War II, he led an orchestra overseas that backed up Bob Hope's big band. His big band, backed up comedian Bob Hope on a USO tour. But when he came back to the United States after the war, and when I was a kid, he hated the music business. Don't be a musician. Don't be a musician. He did not encourage me to practice, even though I loved the music. It would have been great from a discipline perspective if I learned how to practice, but I didn't. I ended up getting involved in the jazz business anyway. Yes, the jazz business sucks. It's horrible. It's ruined a lot of lives. It's hard today to make a living because of streaming. That's another issue. Favorite jazz albums? I'll tell you the first 3 jazz albums I purchased when I was 13 years old. One was Maynard Ferguson, Message from Birdland. The second was Dizzy Gillespie, Live at Newport, 1957. And the third was, I'm trying to think of the name of it now. It was Dizzy Gillespie and Charlie Parker live at in Toronto. Oh, one of those post-50 things. I forgot the name of the album. Okay, I don't know. But so anyway, those were the first 3 jazz albums I purchased. And I'm interested in Maynard Ferguson because I was a trumpet player. And when you're 12 or 13 years old and you hear Maynard Ferguson, that is mind-boggling. So I began to follow his music. I get to see him in person a couple times when I was a teenager. And then, because this is the life that I was destined to lead, I ended up interviewing Maynard Ferguson when he was 70. I also wrote the liner notes, the booklet for the Mosaic Records box set, Maynard Ferguson, the Roulette recordings in the 60s. 60 to 65, Maynard recorded for the Roulette label, which was owned by Morris Levy, the owner of Birdland, who was hooked up with the mafia. And when I went to write the liner notes and I contacted Maynard Ferguson, he didn't want to hear about it. But I guess maybe 5 or 10 years after that, I ended up interviewing him. Incredible man. Maynard Ferguson is a remarkable guy. You may or may not like his music. Exciting big band, screaming trumpet. But Maynard Ferguson, the way that he treated people. Maynard Ferguson was very into Indian philosophy, Indian spirituality, and the way that he related to people and the way that he treated the musicians, and the fact that he spent a lot of his life traveling around in a bus playing at junior high schools and high schools around the country. Because this is what he did, this is what he believed in, and this is how he touched people. So he was really remarkable man. I feel so lucky. That interview is up on YouTube here. The entire interview, and then one section where he talks about Clark Terry and Clifford Brown. He did a great recording. I think it was called Dinah Jams. It was Dinah Washington with the trumpet section of Maynard, Clifford Brown, and Clark Terry. The second album in my early buying was Dizzy Gillespie Live at Newport, 1957. Once again, very interested in big band music and very interested in Dizzy Gillespie. A great trumpet player, but just fascinating man. Able to reach an audience with his humor, with his whole stage presentation. And another thing that happened to me, as I said, I was destined to be in this life, be involved with jazz and music and now film. I heard Dizzy a number of times in New York and hung out with him and got high with him. Yes, I smoked marijuana with Dizzy Gillespie. I'm probably not the only one. So I grew up listening to him, and then I got to know him a bit. I can't say I was super friends with him. I went to a pool party at his house once. Once again, many people who I know knew Dizzy because I knew many bebop musicians. So I think that, as I said, I must have been destined to lead this life. If I was 13, listening to these guys, and then grew up knowing them, writing about them, making films about them, this is who I am. This is what I do. I feel very, very lucky. This is not, when I started teaching at several years ago, I started teaching at a local community college, teaching video production, video editing, documentary filmmaking. You talk to different students. You talk to 18, 19, 20-year-olds. What do you really want to do? I want to be rich and famous. Okay, well, not too many people get to that point. More people get rich or have money. A few people get famous. I mean, I guess I have some fame here through my channel and the work that I do. I'm appreciative of the fact that people like it and I'm able to reach an audience. Rich is something I have no connection to whatsoever and probably never will. But I'm doing something that's meaningful to me and meaningful to other people, and you can't put a price tag on that. I do this because I love this music. And I love the stories that musicians have. That's why I share their stories. And now with this Ask a Filmmaker, I want to empower other people. I've had such a wonderful time, such an incredible journey making films. And I know that if I can do it, other people can do it as well. That's the thing about today's technology. You got a smartphone, you are a filmmaker. You can shoot something and upload to video, to Vimeo, to YouTube, to Facebook. A lot of people see it. A lot of people check it out. And if you're successful in building an audience with social media, like I've done, you get a response. It's not a financial thing. There's not a lot of money to be made in the world of jazz. I somehow make a living. I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but I don't do it for the money. I do it because it's important to me. It's meaningful. And it's something that I think more people need to do. Do something in your life that matters to you. I feel lucky I'm able to do that. Many people get up in the morning to a job that they hate. And they come home at 5 o'clock and they watch TV and drink beer. Nothing wrong with drinking beer or watching TV, by the way, but just they're consumers. They don't do anything. Their life doesn't have any meaning. I've always sought out to have some kind of meaning in this life. I'm very lucky to sit in my room right now, surrounded by my music and my technology, and reaching out to talk to people around this planet about filmmaking and about jazz. Two things that are the most important things in the world to me, in addition to my daughter and my wife and my friends. Creativity, jazz, filmmaking, these are the things that matter to me, and this technology has empowered me to be able to do this, and I want to empower you as well. So this series, this blog, this Facebook page, Ask a Filmmaker, I do daily postings about filmmaking, about different aspects of filmmaking, and about web video. Filmmaking's challenging. It's kind of like, you may know the program Photoshop, which is a great program, but extremely complex. You can sit down in a couple hours and learn the basics of Photoshop and do some photo editing. But if you want to really learn Photoshop, it takes years. And that's also true of learning to play an instrument or learning how to make films. It's an ongoing process. It's something you do and you keep doing all your life. If you want to, if this is the journey that you want to be on. It's like, in a way, climbing a mountain. If you're at the bottom of the mountain and you look up at the top, it's extremely daunting. What you have to do is one step at a time and enjoy the journey. And I am enjoying the journey in this life. And I'd be less than truthful if I said there aren't moments of frustration. There are. You can't go through this life without suffering and pain. That's something that all of us, it's being human. You have to suffer. Part of the equation. You wonder sometimes why do bad things happen to good people, and the other side of the coin, why do good things happen to bad people? No, what was it? I screwed that up. Why do bad things happen to good people? And the other side of the equation, why do good things happen to bad people? I've known so many people. To take a case of Michael Brecker, a friend of mine, did some work with him at the Saxophone Summit. Incredible musician, incredible person. He checks out at 58. My God, why? Just the way it is. I mean, here's a guy that helped people, loved people, put some really positive energy in this world, got sick, and he left us. Clifford Brown, 27, dies in a car accident. And then the other side of the coin, you have some of our leaders. Particularly, I'm thinking about one person in particular who has orange hair, 70 years old, uh, evil, pure evil. Yet there he is, President of the United States, on TV all the time. Certain people believe him, most people don't. How does evil get, in that position? I don't know. The Chinese believe in yin and yang. Yes, Charlie Parker did die at 35. Charlie Parker fought a lot of demons, but a man like Charlie Parker and Clifford Brown and Michael Brecker and John Coltrane, who died at 40, these people aren't with us for very long, but they left something that is eternal. As long as there are people on this planet listening to music, there are going to be people listening to Charlie Parker and John Coltrane and Clifford Brown and Michael Brecker, and it's a long list. They live forever. Physically, their bodies, they don't stay here forever. They have different runs. Jimmy Heath, my friend, 90 years old. Incredible. I remember in New York in the 70s, worked on a TV show. There was a guy I had some dealings with. You may know him, U.B. Blake. U.B. Blake around that time, I think it was 98. Still doing it. There was a really nice documentary last week on HBO, which I hope you can see. I forget the title, but it was something like, If I'm Not in the Obituaries, I'll Have Breakfast. And it was about people in their 90s. When I was a kid, 60 was like ancient. You're 60, you're getting ready to die. You don't do anything. You're 68 years old. I'm going to be 68 years old in 7 weeks here. I don't feel old. My body is not functioning like I did when I was 20. I sometimes say I wish I had my 68-year-old mind and my 28-year-old body. But just because those numbers are up in 60, 70, 80, 90 doesn't mean you can't have an exciting, fulfilling life. And this HBO documentary, which kind of featured Carl Reiner, the comedy writer, director, partner of Mel Brooks in The 2,000-Year-Old Man. This guy's 93 or 95, whatever it is. He wrote 3 books in the past couple of years. He's like every day, he's tweeting, he's active, he's doing something. And all of the people who were in this documentary were in their 90s. And the filmmaker wanted to share what is the secret of being 90, being 95, and still doing it. And it's a combination of a certain amount of luck, health-wise, the right genes. But the 2 things that I got from it were doing something you really like and loving someone, having someone in your life. And if you can have that in your life, at any time in your life, you're going to be happy. And it's a formula to keep going. And I hope that I can still keep doing what I'm doing when I'm in my 90s. Certainly the technology is on my side. I'm in pretty good health. My doctor tells me every year when I go for my physical, just keep doing what you're doing. Well, I'm just trying to eat right, get some exercise, have a beautiful wife, and I'm doing this, which is a blessing to do these kind of things. So we're coming to the end of this broadcast. I appreciate the participation of Liam Elian, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name right, a young trombonist from Israel who somehow jumped on here, and also Tim Quinn. Tim, I appreciate your kind comments. He said, how about that guy who just climbed El Capitan with no ropes or safety net? This is the life. Yeah, it's about now. It's about being present in this moment, not what I don't have or what I want to do, but here I am, I'm now, I'm alive, I'm doing something that is important to me. I'm lucky enough to do something that's important to other people. So I'm Brett Premack. This is Ask a Filmmaker. I'll be here again next week at 1 o'clock, and I look forward to taking your questions.